here. Caleb, dude, first off, thanks for coming on. Super stoked, man, to see and talk to you about kind of your season, how it went. Obviously, now it's all kind of wrapping up here. Um, but just from the Starlight performance, that was huge, to obviously States. It was a good season. It looks like, so I'm really curious to talk to you about it. But before any of that stuff, man, anytime I have anybody new on, I always have to ask, man, like, tell me the story. Like, how did we get into the sport of running?
Yeah, so I guess how I got into running is similar to the way a lot of people got into running is my mom made me. She's like, she always ran a little bit. I don't, she ran a marathon. She never ran competitively as far as I know, but so she was like, hey, it's fun. There's other homeschoolers. You should go do it. And I was like, okay. And then I figured out that running is hard. And year two, I did not want to run again. But she was like, "No, you have fun. You're doing it." And I'm really glad that that's true now. Because at this point, it is fun. At least a lot of it is. So yeah, just I think I started back in seventh grade during the COVID year. So that was interesting for sure. I don't know. It's been crazy to see how much the team has grown, how much the sport has grown since then. But yeah, I started because my mom made me, and I guess somewhere in there I decided probably around freshman year that I liked doing it and I wanted to work hard and get faster. So no.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. No, trust me when I say, like, there is the love hate relationship in running. I've had it so many times where I'm just like super dedicated to it, and then like afterwards I'm like, oh, okay, I need a break for a few months, 5, 6 months or whatever, and then it comes back. But that's so normal to to everybody, I feel like. Um, but that's cool, man. That's cool that, like, obviously just willing to kind of stick with the sport as well. And obviously, like you said, you've seen like the growth in the sport. It's evolved so much over even just the past decade, and in like turnout, I guess you could call it. But yeah, man. So, like, outside of running, what are we doing? What kind of hobbies are you into?
Honestly, people ask me that. I don't have hobbies. I work in a small machine shop near me. I do school. I'm a dual enrollment student at York Tech. Um, Honestly, so much of my life is just I run, I do school, go to work, run some more. Or if I'm hanging out with people, it's the people I know from running or school or work or something. Like I don't know, it's kind of a busy life.
Yeah, no, man. Hey, even just hanging out. I'd call it a hobby, just hanging out with friends. That's pretty cool though, man. Working at a machine shop. That's, again, I've talked to a lot of guys. That is a first. I've never heard of that one. So kudos to you, man. That sounds pretty cool. Um, so I do want to talk about cross country, but I also want to kind of fall back a little bit and talk about track. Um, 4:32 in the 16, blazing. That's like a great time there. Um, and then obviously the 10:02, you kind of scratch your head a little bit on that one, because you're like, if he's running 4:32, he could probably go way sub 9 or sub 10, like, for sure. But it definitely looked like you're definitely more comfortable in the 16. Is that a true statement? Like, do you just kind of like that distance, or have you thought about going a little bit more in the 32?
So I would love to run more 32s. I run 5Ks, so 32 is definitely not too long for me. But last season was only my second season running track. I ran for NAFO my first year, and then this last year I moved, and so changed who I ran for, and ended up running for Rock Hill. Um, NAFO was fun. I think I improved my 32 a lot there, and I really focused on that. And coach kind of let me focus on what I wanted to. Rock Hill was a little different. I ran a 16 and a 32 every meet. Unless I was like really not feeling well, then maybe I would drop a 32. But I never ran a 32 without a 16 before it. So whenever I PR'd on the 32, I usually just PR'd on the 16. So I was running on exhausted legs. And I've been close to a 32 PR several times in cross country. Um, I guess the 16, yeah, I'm more comfortable with it. I love the 16. I feel like an 800 is a little on the short side for me. I don't quite have that top end speed for that distance. But that 16, it's like, I can deal with some pain for like 4 or 5 minutes, just push through. And then, that kick at the end, I love the 16. But yeah, it's a little sad. My 32 times don't quite match up, but I'm hoping to change that this season. And yeah.
Yeah, man, you would like I said, you would definitely look at the 32 and be like, okay, something is up here. Because you should obliterate it. But again, it's just honestly, it's inevitable. It's a matter of time. It's just when you do it, because obviously you're capable of doing it. Um, but I know you mentioned like the 8 is a little too short for you. So is
Mhm.
the 16 kind of that sweet spot then? Like, do you just feel more comfortable in it?
Um, yeah, I would say so to a point. Like I don't know, something about it is just really fun. Um, and I don't know, I guess it was really, it's ironic because I don't know if you've seen, I got Hoka Kick of the Week after Starlight, and so that was super cool. My kick until like last year was never that good. There was this one guy on my team, Joe, who he graduated a few years ago, but every meet I'd be beating Joe, and I was so happy. And then Joe would come and pass me right at the end. I was like, come on. So I think last track season I really tried to work on that, and I kind of got a little more of that speed. And I don't know, I could use that in the 16. It was just super exciting. And I don't know, I really find the 16 fun. It's like the perfect distance.
Yeah, I primarily did the 32 in high school. Um, but the 16 is it's so quick and it is fun, and you almost just like with the 16 versus the 32, it's just less time to react. It's less time to like you have to make those kind of split second decisions, um, because it's just you just don't have the time to first like the 32. You can kind of wait and see what the first mile brings you. Um, but yeah, man. So thanks for telling me all that one. I did want to talk about summer training a bit. Obviously, like heading into this year, how do you think that summer training went? Do you think you kind of got everything out of it that you wanted to prior to the season?
Yeah, so I don't know. Summer training has been interesting for me because these last 2 years I've worked for a Christian sports ministry called Victory Sports. So obviously I mean, there were like a couple of us that ran, but like I did a lot of, 4:30, 5 a.m. runs, some late night runs, just trying to sneak it in here and there. There was one week where I tried to run a 40-mile week around a church parking lot. It was, you know, it's you do what you can. But I've always kind of viewed it as like, cross country is not my whole life. This is very important to me, so I'm gonna try to get running in where I can, but I want this to happen too. This season was a little interesting because my goal was to build a lot for summer conditioning, and eventually I wanted to build like to like a 17 or 18 mile long run, which I kind of did. Um, like I said, 4:30, 5 a.m. runs, staying up late, like 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night. It wears on you. And so I did 15 miles one week, and the next week I was gonna do a 16-mile run, then 17 the next week, but I just couldn't finish my 16-mile run. I stopped out at 11, running a 10-minute pace with a heart rate in the 190s because I'd reached the physical limit of what was possible. So I kind of run walked my way back to where I started and stretched for a while and went home. And then I made a priority to get more sleep. Next weekend is the Sunday, and cross country started on a Monday. So me and a friend were gonna go try to get 17 miles in between church and youth group, and that was probably a poor choice because the next day was the first day of practice. I thought, okay, we're not gonna run very much, so I'll get up early. I'll go run before class. And so I got up. I did a quick little like 4 mile run, I think, and that night, the coach is like, usually we don't run a lot on the first day, but, we're trying to be maybe a little more competitive now. So we did run a bunch. I think we ran like 5 or 6 miles. So now my easy day has turned into like a 9 or 10 mile day. And of course, one of the guys that used to run on the team was back from college, and he's running in college. So his easy pace is a little faster than our easy pace. So we're running, in the upper sixes, which I mean is comfortable for me now, but coming off of summer training, you run slow in the summer. So that was not great. And then the next day we had a hill workout, and I felt my Achilles start to hurt during that hill workout. And I thought it's nothing. I'll ice it. I'll keep going. And it was not nothing. And I ended up going to sports med and finding out I tore my Achilles. Not fully ruptured it or torn it in half, but if you didn't see improvement from last season to this one, that's why I missed the first half of my season because of a torn Achilles. So I don't know. I'm pretty happy with. I mean, I think summer running could have gone better, but I think I recovered from my summer running mistakes.
Yeah, no, man. Honestly, I think it's a testament to you to still get the runs in. Even for what it is worth. Because a lot of guys, honestly, they'll you hear it like you hear the excuse like, oh, like you said, like I was up late and I had to wake up early and I couldn't get the run in, and like I think that's, at least for somebody watching and somebody like coaching the sport, it's like, well, all right, like it happens. But it's like when you also see someone who is dedicated to it, and still can get it in, and make this the time, like you say, it goes a long way. Honestly, it goes a long way, and it kind of says a lot about your character, and the type of runner that you are. Um, so when you look at, like, again, you talk about the summer training being a little up and down there. What were some of the goals, like, initially, then kind of leading into the season? You muted?
Oh, my bad. I'm
There you
sorry.
go. No, you're good, man. You're good.
Um, my goal going into the season, I try to have big, ambitious goals. But my goal was to go under 15:30 in the 5K, which honestly, looking back and looking at what kind of shape I'm in now, I think was very possible had things gone to plan, which they didn't. But yeah, I want to break 15:30, break the team record, which is 15:43. Neither of those happened, but honestly, I'm happy with where I am. I think I've done the best I can, and so I didn't get those goals, but I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I think, honestly, regardless if obviously you get him or not, you got to set the bar high. That's for one. And for two, it's like I can see it. I could definitely can see it, because again, when you look at the 16, like the 16 shows you got speed, um, a lot of speed, and honestly, even like, and we're gonna get to your PR here in a second, but it's like, even with your PR, like you look at that, like I was a 4:35, 1600 meter, but I ran 16:13. So it's like with you, it's like, okay, yeah, like you probably definitely could be close to that 16 barrier, if not break, like right off the bat from just track season speed. Um, and then let alone, yeah, like, summer training and all that jazz. Um, but yeah, let's talk about that, man. So Starlight, obviously, like, a big breakout race, 16:29 PR. Did you notice anything during that race, and like anything different? Like, oh, okay, like I'm moving like quick tonight or anything?
Honestly, I think Starlight, I was ready for Starlight. I had not raced in a little while at that point. We had some meets get canceled. Starlight had previously been on a different day, got moved. So I hadn't raced in like 3 weeks. And so I was feeling good. I was looking for a chance to kind of prove myself a little bit. And so, going into that, I felt pretty good. I'd been training. Honestly, I haven't trained as hard this year as I did last year just because I can't right now. I'm still trying to recover from this injury. But, I was feeling pretty good. I know I was in better shape than I was before. So getting to Starlight, I'm feeling good. I don't remember what I was seated. It was definitely not first. I think I was maybe over 10 in the rankings there. So, but I always try to have big goals, like I said. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go out and I'm not gonna go out crazy fast. My legs weren't honestly they weren't super fresh. I just raced at Clover on Wednesday because again I hadn't been racing and I was like, I gotta prove myself. I gotta do something here. I gotta see what kind of shape I'm in. Remember what it's like to race. But so Starlight, I get to Starlight and it's honestly I was a little nervous. The course was new. People weren't running as fast as they were before. It was a lot warmer. I think it was over 70 for my race, which by this time of the season, I'm used to having cooler weather, which, 70 is not bad, but it's not that 55 that every runner wants. So going into the race, I was just like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna see what I can do here. So I went out and that track start it's absolutely insane. You got like what's it like 140 something runners on one track going as fast as they can, and everybody wants to be in the front. And so we went out pretty quick. And so I came out. Honestly, that first lap, I was like, I'm not going out fast because everyone is going out fast here. That's not gonna mean I'm not gonna burn out. And so I went out, and I think my first lap was like 122 or something like that, which is not super fast for an all-out sprint on a track. So I come out and I was like, okay, I did lap one. People are starting to slow down. I'm gonna pass people. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna pass people. And I remember I was just on the outside pushing it, and my coach was yelling at me, "Hang on, Caleb, you got a lot of race left." I was like, "Yeah, but I feel good, coach." So um, I just passed people, and I think I was 20th by the time I got off the track. And I was like, I'm just gonna keep passing people. My goal is always don't let a single person pass you in a race, and so I didn't. And I was in eighth place when I was coming down off that practice field. If anyone's ever been there, there's kind of a spot where you run up through the practice field with all the tents and everybody's there. And I mean, I love that part. You got all the teams there, they're cheering you on. It's tight. I really like it. And so I was coming out of that, and there was this little downhill, and I felt pretty good. I think I was in eighth, and there's Robert Sadler from NAFO. And like I said before, I used to run for NAFO for track. So I was like, hey, I know Robert. I'm going to pass Robert. Um, but Robert's got a good kick, so I got to pass Robert by a lot because Robert's an 800 runner. He runs fast. So I was like, okay. And Robert, I was talking to Robert afterwards. Robert goes, well, there's Caleb. I'm going to stick with Caleb. I know Caleb. I can pass him. So, it's just after that, I tell people it was just a race between me and Robert. We passed other people, but it was just me and him. I was just trying to stay ahead of him, get away from him enough that he couldn't pass me at the end because I don't like when that happens. But so coming out off the track that last time, I was in second place. Robert was right behind me. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna stick with this guy till I'm on that practice field. Coming down the hill, I'm gonna pass him there, and I'm gonna just take off around that baseball field. Well, that didn't happen because I was in vapor flies and he was in spikes. So he goes around the outside, and I cut on the inside, and I realized I'm in front of him. And at this point, I don't want to let him go back in front of me because at this point, I feel like I can go faster. I feel like there's more that I have. Like, okay, I'm gonna just push a little here, trying to surge and get away from him. And I think that's what actually got me Hoka Kick of the Week. It's not a planned maneuver, not a planned really anything. I just like, all right, well, if I'm gonna pass him, I might as well really pass him. So I passed him, and by the time we got back to the track, it was me and Robert and no one else. And so, it's just from there, it's just a battle of push, 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 see what you can do. I thought Robert had me. There's a picture of me somewhere with my fingers up like this, like, look at me, I'm winning. And I thought, I'm gonna come around the track, I'm gonna take this picture, and then Robert's gonna win. But I want to get a picture with me in the front. And then Robert didn't win, and I was so surprised that I got first. It feels a little weird. I never thought I would get first. Yeah, it was really exciting.
Yeah, man. It's funny because you never like sometimes you just don't expect it when you don't expect it, and then you and cross the line first. It's like holy crap. And I talk to a lot of guys too, and it's like the anxiety of like leading a race or like being in front. Like, did you feel any of that pressure? Because I mean, I know you just mentioned there like you thought Robert was going to get you at the end, but like did you think that at any chance did you think that you had it in the bag? Like, this is it. Like, I'm gonna win this thing.
I mean, I knew there was a shot that I could win. I won't say that, I had no hope, but yeah, it's like, I mean, I've led a race before, sure. I've, won plenty of like little meets here or there, but like this was not a little meet. This was a big meet. And there were a lot of people that were a lot faster than me in this race. So I don't think I was nervous. I think I was surprised more than anything. I just wanted to have a good time, you know? last season.
Yeah, man, and and you talked about in that tent area, like that honestly, that's probably one of the cooler um spots for even like any like I'm trying to think of like any course, like a cool place to kind of like run by, and you kind of look at like maybe like Wake Med a little bit, or because like there's people on both sides of you when you go up a hill, um, or even like at McAlpine up the big hill. There's people are on both sides of there, but
That's the
like
one I was
with
thinking of.
yeah, and so that's pretty cool because everyone's like hyped up on that hill, watching you climb. But then, like, yeah, dude, you mentioned Starlight, and it's like you really think about it, and it's like Starlight just being in the tent area. Because even if you're not like warming up or anything, you can just sit there like with a chair and just watch, and like everybody's in that area. Um, so that is pretty cool. Um, and then obviously, you talked about Clover like running there prior in the week. Like that's a tough course to run on, a really tough course. And so to kind of like take that, did you have any confidence like after running that to run at Starlight?
So Clover, again, I had ambitious goals. I was gonna run really fast at Clover because I haven't run in a few weeks. So I was like, look, we're just gonna see what happens. We're gonna go for it. It's a tiny meet anyway. And it ended up being that their top guys were going to, I think, like Homecoming or something instead of Starlight. So they were really racing, and so I was really racing, and yeah, it was a little bit of a confidence booster because that was the fastest I've run on that course, and so it's like, well, okay, well, I'm definitely in better shape than I was before when I ran this course last year. I don't really know what to do with that, but now I'm really sore. I think that night I came home, I stretched, I took an ice bath, like just everything I could think of to try to get ready for Starlight. And going into Starlight, my hamstrings were probably the tightest they've ever been. Like it hurt to stretch. But I was like, I've had good races before where I'm tight or I feel sick or whatever, so I'm not gonna think about that and I'm just gonna race.
Yeah, the you do mention that the Clover boys they had homecoming, so not all of them ran at Starlight. Um, I mean, I guess especially Starlight because you are so like close to the crowd, for a majority of the race. Especially when you go past the track. I mean, that the whole grandstands is loaded with people. Do you hear anybody? Like, do you hear your coaches or your family during a race like that, or just like any race in general, or are you like just focused on the race itself?
Um, I guess it depends, because sometimes you aren't focusing on that. Like when you come onto the track and like you hear people yell, it's like, where's my family at? Where are they? Sometimes I'll go. I mean, like obviously you go past the mile marker and you got a coach there yelling out your time, so I can pay attention to that. But like when I was finishing, I remember like our team photographer, I think, is like yelling for me, and I do not remember that. Like I don't remember people are like, "Do you hear me yell? Do you hear me yell?" And I'm like, "No, no, I'm sorry." Yeah, it's like when there's a lot of people in one place and I'm trying to work hard, I'm locked in on that. Like coming onto the track, I remember my girlfriend and a few of her friends were standing there, cheering me on, and then I think I saw my parents in the stands the first lap around the track, and then after that, I honestly don't really remember what happened.
No, that makes sense, man. I always ask that because it's just like I'm like the same way. Like it really depends. It really depends on like sometimes you hear the voices. I feel like even in like if you're like locked in, you still hear like the mile splits if somebody's like out there at the mile, the 2 mile. But yeah, as far as like people cheering you on, I'm just like it's so almost like overwhelming of like how many people are there yelling and screaming. Um, Favorite courses? Do you have any favorite courses from like your entire running career thus far?
I don't know. I feel like Starlight is definitely up there. Honestly, this that state course we ran this year, the way our team works is we're in a homeschool division, so we rotate around and everybody hosts states a year. This one we ran on a grass airstrip, which was super cool, very unique. I've never run it, but a lot of people compared it to what's that one that Garmin sponsors? I don't remember, but there's some big grass course that everybody's talking about.
It could be
Um,
Wake Med, maybe. I think
no,
Wake Med. It's not Wake Med because I think Garmin sponsors. Do they sponsor Great American? I'm not. I think
no,
so. I'm
it's
not sure.
I'm trying to remember. It'll come back to me later, but yeah, it's like it's unique. It's so wide, and I don't know if you've seen a video, but the whole thing is on a hill. And it's a really big hill. So like first mile was pretty even. You go down the hill and you come back up and around. So it's I don't know, you maybe got like 10, 15 feet of elevation gain there from the start to the mile one. But then mile two is all downhill. I think I ran like a 5:02 that mile, which is really fast for a second mile when you run 16:30. Because I think I ran like 5:30, 5:40 coming back up that hill because it was hard. So that was definitely I don't know. I really like that course. It was cool to be out in the open. Now, if it had been raining and it was muddy or something, that would be way less fun. But honestly, I would say just going back to probably the two big ones is Hounds of Hare at McAlpine. I love that course. I love, just the amount of people there that are always there. The hill. I know everybody hates the hill. I like the hill. I get to pass people on the hill. It's what makes that course unique. And then yeah, McAlpine and Starlight, I would say, are probably my two favorite courses.
Yeah, I did see the state course you were talking about. It looked nice. I mean, it looked like, at least just from like a facility standpoint, it looked pretty dang nice. I was like, I mean, like I don't know if that facility or the school hosts like invitationals there, but it looked, just from the video, it looked like it was like you could host a legitimate invitational there, for sure. And then obviously, yeah, McAlpine of the hill, and it's funny because that I like the hill, but that downhill, that steep downhill, is like, I don't even know, man. I don't know how we've ever. That's just the craziest like downhill I think I've possibly ever run, at least in a race. I don't think I've ever had a downhill where it's like that, because it's like it's not smooth. It's not like a grass hill. It's rocky. You could easily trip and fall and eat it, and uh, that's a tough one. But it's a great course though too. Um, I do want to kind of follow back up on states. Obviously, third place finish there. Congratulations on that, man. Like that's still like a great finish. Um, Obviously, probably not like the finish you wanted. Obviously, you always want to go for the win, I think. But again, like walk me through that. I mean, obviously, you said you felt you were moving. You were definitely moving all the way through the second mile. Um, do you think you executed it as best as you could, or like was there anything kind of left out there where you're like, I should have maybe done this differently?
Um, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm really happy with my performance there. I feel like I took my PR and then almost ran the same thing at state, which was a way harder course. But yeah, so starting out, Nicholas Pattyfoot, he went out really fast. And I guess everyone was a little surprised. We're just, all right, well, we're all gonna run the pace we're gonna run and see if he comes back or see if he, you know, just runs crazy fast. You never really know. Um, but so yeah, going into that, I think I ran like a 5:11, 5:12 first mile. It's down a hill, so that was a fun start. And then you got to go kind of around in the grass on the back, kind of on like a rougher terrain, back up to the top of that hill, and that's the mile. And then you come down, and it's just like probably three-quarters of the mile, half to three-quarters of that mile are just down like fairway grass runway. It's the like if you want to run a fast mile on a race, like that's the place to do it. So I remember looking down at my watch thinking, I feel good, I'm running fast. And I look down, I'm running a 4:40 pace. I was like, oh man, I'm running really fast. And it turns out I needed it because, that hill was no joke. I think what I could have done better is pushed it a little more on that downhill, kept up with the guys from the Hurricanes. You know, I mean, they did a great job. They ran that race super well. I think if I'd stuck with them, um, typically I can outkick a lot of people these days. So I think if I'd stuck with them, I'd had a much closer shot at winning that race. But I didn't. Um, yeah, I think just using the downhill and using the flats a little more to make up for the uphill because there's really, I mean, there's not a whole ton I can do about that uphill.
Yeah, you mentioned that, like, yeah, Nicholas, he went out fast. He went out really fast, and I was like, ah, like, okay, like, I mean, all right, like he's got to be on a mission for something here, man. But like that kind of shocked me too. I was because I knew there were guys in the field that like can compete, and so to like do something like that at the state meet, let alone, it's gutsy though, man. But obviously you got to respect it too, and obviously he had an idea. And then yeah, you talk about the Greenville guys, like yeah, they've both had like great seasons this year, really great seasons this year. So that's pretty cool to see as well. Um, when you look at the season like overall, obviously I think there's like huge highlights in it. Obviously, um, how do you feel like the whole thing went? Do you feel like you capped it off on a high note? Like obviously, like you said, you third is you're pretty dang happy with that one. But just like overall the whole season, how do you feel like it went?
Honestly, I would say I'm happy with it. It didn't go how I planned it. It didn't go how I would have liked it to go, but I think this season I've come to realize that, there's a lot more to running than just fast times. I think I'm capable of a lot more than the times show. Um, I really enjoyed this season from a community standpoint. I think the running community in the York County area is kind of an incredible community that you don't really see anywhere else. And so I think I've enjoyed running this season, not necessarily about the racing as much as just hanging out with my team, enjoying competing, and I don't know. I really enjoyed this season despite it not being what I wanted, and I think I've learned some valuable lessons about what not to do in preseason training.
No, man. Like I said, obviously I think you should be happy with it too. It was a good season. It was a good season. You obviously got a lot done, and I think obviously that Starlight win is something to remember for quite a while. And then obviously, yeah, just the state finish itself, and plus I think it gives you a lot of confidence too going into track season, to kind of see everything that you've done. Um, when you look at postseason, is there anything on the radar? Like, do you want to do like a Brooks South or anything, or NXR maybe?
Yeah, I'll be at NXR. I am super pumped for NXR. I'm feeling really good right now. My training it's going really well. Um, like last Wednesday, I did a 10-mile tempo at I think a 6:19 pace. Heart rate was in the mid 150s. I felt so good for that. Saturday, I did a fundraiser 5K. I ran 16:38 on a 1.18 mile course, um, solo on 50-mile week legs. So I think right now I'm in better shape than I've ever been before by a long way. So I'm feeling really good. I am super excited about Nike, and honestly, that race is like, look, it's my last high school cross country race. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome, dude. Honestly, going to NXR. And plus it's kind of nice for you. Obviously, you get a little bit more of a break than some of the other guys. Obviously have state quals and then states next week. Um, so it definitely gives you a little bit of time to kind of maybe, like you said, kind of push something, get a good workout in like that, and then kind of taper off at the end. Um, you look at obviously after that. I'm assuming what do you do? 2 weeks, 3 weeks off of just recovery before track kind of planning training.
Yeah, so um, I got a 4 week break between states and then Nike, so I'm just gonna try to build for three of those, taper for the last one, just really lock in for that. And then after that, I think, yeah, it's probably gonna be a 1 or 2 week break, and then just some really light stuff to build into indoor. I'm hoping to run indoor this year, unattached, to try to just make the most of this last track season.
Yeah, man, kudos to that, dude. Indoor, obviously, that's it's so different from outdoor track season. It really is because obviously just 200 meters. Um, but that's cool, man. That's such a kind of good mindset to have. The the track goals, I'm assuming, like obviously want to go sub 430. That's kind of like a gimme, and then obviously like sub 10 and the 32. That's kind of a gimme as well. But is there anything like else? Like, do you have a time goal in mind of where you kind of want to be at for the 16 and the 32, or even the 8?
Honestly, like I said before, I have ambitious goals. I'm gonna try to go like 425 in indoor, but not really peak for indoor. Just kind of keep that really just base level training, maybe get some tempo, some threshold stuff in, but not really ever peak for indoor. It's just gonna be build up for outdoor. Outdoor, it's ambitious. I want to break the school records for Rock Hill. That involves running the 154 and the 800, which I think is going to be hard, but I don't think it's impossible. The mile is, I think, 422, or the 16 is 422. My goal is to run a 415 at state and get top three. I don't know if it's going to happen. I think it's very possible. Seeing how I've improved and how I know there's a lot of ways I can keep improving, know things that are holding me back that I can really work on. I don't remember what the 2 mile was. I think it's like 9:30. Again, I think if I can split those races up and kind of run, you know, run it 32 and I'm not tired. I probably could have gone like 9:45 last year based on some of the workouts, some of the racing. I think there was a lot of potential left there. I didn't run a single 800 last year. I don't know how I could do. Um, I think I opened one of my races in like 212. And so, I mean, that's not a standout 800 time, but I ran another one after it. Um, Postseason, some of the boys did a little mock meet, just for fun at like a middle school track. I think my split of the 4x8 there was like 209, which I think I went sub one for the first lap and jogged the second one because there was no one else there. Um, I think I have a lot of 800 potential. I haven't raced an 800 in over a year. My 800 PR is still 225 on mile split. There's a lot of potential there. I don't know. I'm excited. We're gonna see what happens.
Yeah, I think the when you say like 415, I don't think that's crazy. I really don't. I mean, 432 obviously you already have like 420s is gonna like again as long as you train hard. It's obviously not it's not a given. Obviously, like it seems that way though. It seems like that way. Obviously with your mindset and everything. But you do seem like a 420s guy at least, and obviously you just never know what could happen in a mile. There's the craziest things happen in there, and you end up running 413 or something. Like it's like, how did I do that? I have no idea. But then yeah, like you mentioned, like you were definitely in shape for at least a 945. I would even go as far as down as like 940, 941 range, just from the mile. Like if you just convert it over, it really does seem like it's kind of around that range. Um, so then, yeah, but if you're running 420s, then it's like, all right, you're at least a 930 guy, maybe sub 930 at least. So there is a lot of potential there. And obviously, wish you the best of luck in that. And it's going to be exciting to see it. Definitely, we're going to keep up with you and see how that goes. And yeah, man. But thanks for coming on again. I would love to have you back on because I think obviously like track is I'm hyped for that. I'm really excited to see how NXR kind of goes. And obviously, Wake Med is such a crazy course in itself. Have you ran there before?
No, no.
Never.
I'm still trying to figure out like what shoes am I gonna wear? Like, what's my race strategy? I've been kind of saying with school recently, but the plan is to go and just watch like a bunch of old NXR videos and see like, hey, what do these guys do? What shoes are they wearing? How do they race? What do their splits look like? Just try to figure out like what's the best race strategy there because I'm when I race, that's gonna be the first time I run that course.
Yeah, man. Honestly, watching videos. If you know anybody who's ran it, I've ran it one time. I've ran there a few times. I used to live in North Carolina, but I've ran there, like actually raced there, and it's like if you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna get like just shocked because the downhill is so insane at the start, and I'm sure like you know that you've seen it, it's talked about. It's so crazy at the start, and if you almost like it's gonna be a quick first mile, and then obviously you got to hang on because you got to go up that hill twice, and obviously you finish on the hill, so there's a lot. But I mean, guys can run 14-minute 5K, so obviously like it's possible. You know, it's hard to say a course is slow when you got guys running 14-minute 5Ks and girls that can run 16-minute 5Ks on it. So um, definitely a great place to PR if you can run it correctly. Like sky's the limit on that one. But like I said, man, appreciate you coming on. Would love to have you back on, um, especially during track season and kind of see how everything shapes up. But yeah, man, again, great season. Super excited for you. And yeah, man, we'll definitely have to keep up.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed it.